Cinema Classics is sponsored by the Gateway Film Center and is produced by John DeSando and Johnny DiLoretto. You can listen to full shows online at wcbe.org. I'm Johnny DiLoretto.
I'm John DeSando.
This is Cinema Classics. So many cinema classics have come out of Robert Redford's Sundance Film Festival.
1981.
1981. It goes back. It used to be the Utah Film Festival or
Probably,
something like
yeah,
that.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure of the exact particulars of the history, but at some point, Robert Redford, he took control of that. He wanted to give young filmmakers a place where they could show their work, where they could get some schooling and education. That's the thing I think a lot of people don't know.
Yeah, oh yeah. Well, let me give you their words then.
Yeah.
Their mission is fostering new voices in American storytelling. The nonprofit Sundance Institute is a champion and curator of stories for the stage and screen, which I did not know. That they also consider their scope to go to the stage, and I've never heard of anything.
Yeah, what do they put plays on down there?
I don't know, yeah. So they have a lot of money. They have $3 million in grants each year. And 900 artists, and they start in January. So later on, we're going to talk about what won.
I'm sure. I was looking at some of the movies coming out of Sundance this year, 2022, and looks like there's, it's always, film festivals are very interesting beasts, because how many times as a critic, here we're stuck in Central Ohio, we read up on this stuff, and you'll see like, oh my God, all these great movies are coming out of Sundance, all these movies are coming out of Venice, the Cannes Film Festival, etc. Then when they actually get here, they're like, what? This wasn't so great, right? And I think it's because these attendees at the film festival see so many, obviously, bad movies.
Sure.
Like, you're seeing dozens and dozens of crap movies. So when one of them just kind of cuts through the noise with a little bit of competence, it feels like, oh my God, here's like the best movie of the year.
You're best described then in 1999 when Blair Witch Project came out.
Exactly.
That talk about revolutionary.
Revolutionary, not only in terms of, what it did box office wise, but it, launched a whole genre.
Yeah.
The found footage genre.
Yeah.
Which I hate to this day.
And there's less of it, I think.
Yeah, because it sucks.
I know.
It's so difficult to make a found footage movie work. And if you remember Blair Witch, it was as influential as it was, and to some degree fun. It was a wash, that movie.
Yeah, it was pedestrian. It was exactly what it was, found footage. Now, in 2006, however, one that I think well represents the Sundance Institute is Little Miss Sunshine.
I'm glad you picked. You said that one, because that is what Sundance has become to me. Is this, like, we've talked multiple times now about Titan and how it won the Palme d'Or at the Cannes Film Festival, and what a bold, challenging, disturbing, unpleasant movie at times that can be.
Yeah.
None of that ever happens at Sundance. Sundance is typically American. Little Miss Sunshine is the perfect example of a movie.
It is. I have to admit, I like it.
With a bigger budget, and at the time, bigger stars. It's a palatable.
Yeah. We're memorable for Alan Arkin playing the Grumpy Gramp.
Right. Yeah, it's a very enjoyable.
And beginning the career
movie.
of Abigail Breslin.
Paul Dano.
Yeah, thank you.
Typical Sundance stuff where it like launches careers. Anyway, but I'm glad you brought that up, because that, I feel, is the modern template for Sundance. I do want to mention. Well, we got to go back to the beginning, right? And two movies at the very beginning, which I think sort of exemplify what we for many years thought of as independent film. in 1985, the Coen brothers debuted Blood Simple
Oh yeah.
at the Sundance Film
Good.
Festival.
Good one.
That obviously launched one of the great directorial
Yeah, you're right.
careers in modern movie history.
Yeah.
Followed closely on the heels a few years later by Sex, Lies, and Videotape.
Yeah, you got it. 89.
Is really, in many ways, at least anecdotally, we consider that movie the birth of the modern independent film,
Sure.
right? And those two movies, Sundance for many years, the mid 80s to the late 90s, felt like that. Felt like this is independent film. And, movies like Sex, Lies, and Videotape are nothing like Little Miss Sunshine.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know?
let me point out to you, and I can't give you the names of the films, but Tarantino participated very early.
That's the Reservoir Dogs,
All right, good.
1992.
Right.
I think that's when the commercial going audience sort of becomes
You're right. They got
very
energized.
hyper aware
Right, they did.
of Sundance
Yeah.
because, and even as a young moviegoer myself, I remember now that it was like, oh my God, people
Yeah.
start talking about this movie. I remember seeing Reservoir Dogs at the Drexel Theater. There was a note at the box office. They posted a little note that this movie is extraordinarily violent, and if you're gonna ask for your money back, don't. Something like that.
The two Andersons also, Paul Thomas and Wes.
Yeah, PTA and Wes Anderson.
And then David O. Russell, I think, is
Yeah,
the other one that these are people who got started with that.
For sure.
And you're so right, but I want to challenge you with this then.
Go ahead.
Don't you think that in only 5 years ago, Get Out was a little bit different?
I do, yeah, and that's what I was going to get at too. Is the later 2000s, we get Out from Jordan Peele,
Right.
and Fruitvale Station.
Yeah,
in
good
2013.
one. Ryan Coogler. Very good.
Gave us Ryan Coogler
Yeah.
and a very young Michael B. Jordan.
And a more commercially viable and Oscar-winning Whiplash.
Yeah, right.
I mean, we J.K. Simmons got the
But you
got
can
the award.
see even with these later movies, I don't know, would you say that these later films, like Get Out, Fruitvale, Whiplash, that they're slicker in a way?
Without question, yes, without question. If you look at Clerks, even that's really pretty primitive stuff back
Right.
in '94.
Yeah.
And yes, there's no doubt, and I think it's an evolutionary thing that Darwin would have approved of. That is, it's just getting slicker, getting better.
Right.
When the initial independent, even Blair Witch, you'd have to say, cheap enough. It looks cheap, but it is groundbreaking. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that Redford is happy with it because he's kind of a mainstream guy. He doesn't try too much himself.
Yeah, it's interesting to me. That's the other thing, is that as Redford moves into his directorial prime in the 90s with A River Runs Through It and Quiz Show, you'll remember those
Yep, sure.
big movies.
Yeah.
He is also becoming more and more famous and known for the Sundance Film Festival.
Oh,
And I always thought it was interesting when he would turn up as an actor in these parts in the
and
90s.
very mainstream.
Very mainstream, very commercial.
Not daring at all.
Right, and I was wondering, what is that
Didn't
about?
he try with a Milagro Beanfield something or other? I mean, I think he
Yeah,
tried.
but I don't even know if he's in that. Is he in that?
No, I think
Right,
he directed it. Oh, yeah.
Right, and as a director, maybe a little more.
But hardly daring.
But hardly daring. Yes. And I just always wondered what I would
Isn't
love
it
to
funny?
talk to
Yeah,
him
what
about
kind of
that.
a model are you for independent?
Right.
Is it hardly independent?
Why aren't you taking some of
Yeah,
these risks?
Yeah, well, he'd probably say that was his strength.
Yeah.
And he would hope to develop the strengths.
Or do you think it was possibly him taking on high-profile commercial projects that he knew would get a lot of publicity and that he knew had a shot at least at making a profit, and so those successes would reflect positively on his
I think
film
so.
festival?
Yeah.
And then that also could, by and large, in turn, help younger filmmakers?
No, and I agree. And the modeling done there is that you have to get financing to get your film done.
Right.
I can get it because I'm an established star.
Right.
So whatever your strength is, that's what you're going to
Well,
have to do.
I like to think that Robert Redford was taking on those projects so that he could help the Sundance Film Festival.
But I
and
also
those
think it's a good
filmmakers.
model because I was challenging him as model, and now I can see as I think it through. Well, after all, I'm talking about strengths.
Mhm.
Definitely, he is a mainstream strength, and he's coming from places that others would never come from. But he does. It does reveal that even he has to get financing.
Got it. For our full conversation about the Sundance
Oh, oh,
Film
oh.
Festival, the best films to come out of Sundance ever, head on over to the website and listen to full shows at wcbe.org and check out the podcast, Double Take.